The United Nations says its peacekeeping mission in Côte d'Ivoire will pull out of the country in June 2017 after 12 years of operation. The mission was created in 2004 under a UN resolution at a time when Côte d'Ivoire was rocked by a civil war that led a north-south split in the country. It was extended in the wake of the 2010 deadly post-electoral crisis and had the mission of protecting civilians and supporting disarmament efforts. Since January, the UN has started reducing the numbers of peacekeepers in Côte d'Ivoire. The president of the International Committee of the Red Cross, Peter Maurer, has asked the international community to urgently address the humanitarian emergency in Lake Chad region, said to be the world's most forgotten crisis. An ongoing Boko Haram insurgency in recent years, which has spread across 4 countries, has left at least 9 million people in need of aid in northeast Nigeria and nearby countries.
Hundreds of thousands of people escaping an ongoing conflict in southeast Niger continue to find shelter in Niger's Difa region as they search for a safe place to live. Difa is located near Lake Chad, where Cameroon, Chad, Nigeria and Niger meet, and where Boko Haram has conducted more than 30 attacks this year, according to the United Nations. The International Committee of the Red Cross says the protracted conflict spread across 4 countries has left over 9 million people in need of urgent humanitarian assistance. To help highlight the growing crisis, ICRC President Peter Maurer recently visited the region and called for more international efforts to address people's needs in affected countries.
I see, nevertheless, people who have been heavily affected in their lives, older people who have seen it all and who are full of resignation and introspection, and who almost do not seem anymore to realize what is going on around them.
Boko Haram has been trying to establish an Islamic state adhering to strict Sharia law in northeast Nigeria since 2009. About 2.4 million people have been displaced and thousands have been killed during the insurgency. The jihadist group controlled a large swath of land at the start of 2015, but the Nigerian army, aided by troops from neighboring countries, has recaptured most of the territory. In Sabongari, in Nigeria's Kaduna state, children are being treated for malnutrition and other diseases at a nutrition center run by the ICRC.
In my 35 years of experience, I have never seen such cases plenty like this one. And really some of the cases I saw in picture, but this time around I saw it in reality.
Agencies say the situation is complicated further because many displaced families are located in remote areas. Other internally displaced people are being hosted by low-income communities, putting a strain on already stretched services and resources. While on a visit to Nigeria, the ICRC president says partnerships are essential in order to address the vast crisis in the region. The ICRC operation in the region is the second biggest after its Syria operation, its budget rising from £40 million in 2015 to £105 million in 2016.
This year alone, we assisted almost 900,000 people with food rations. Over 300,000 patients received care in clinics that we support across Adamawa and Borno states, northeast Nigeria, the Middle Belt, and Nigeria Delta states.
In recent days, the Nigerian military has been carrying out a large-scale offensive in the Sambisa forest, a stronghold of Boko Haram. Last week, the group freed 21 of more than 200 girls it kidnapped in April 2014 in the northern Nigerian town of Chibok, after mediation by Switzerland and the International Red Cross.
The U.S. military says its aircraft have carried out over 30 airstrikes on Islamic State targets in the Libyan city of Sirte. This comes as pro-government forces push into its last militant-held district to oust the jihadist group.
Libyan forces are close to ending a 6-month campaign to liberate Sirte from Islamic State which took over the city more than a year after taking advantage of factional infighting that emerged after the fall of leader Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. Forces, mostly from nearby Misrata city, are pushing ahead street by street, facing snipers and suicide bombers. They are being helped by the U.S. airstrikes since August and advanced in coordination with small teams of Western Special Forces on ground. On Sunday, Libyan forces recaptured the city's Kambo area and swept out tunnels used by militants to hide and prepare ambushes and seized a field hospital. They also found charred bodies of militants hit by airstrikes. The U.S. military says its aircrafts carried out 36 strikes over the weekend, mostly on enemy fighting positions, but also on a car bomb. The loss of Sirte will close down Islamic State's main stronghold in North Africa and its only base outside Iraq and Syria, just as the militant group comes under pressure in the Iraqi city of Mosul. Islamic State steadily imposed control on Sirte a year ago and used the city as a base to launch attacks on oil fields and ports, as well as target checkpoints on nearby Misrata. Since Gaddafi's fall in a war in 2011, Libya has slipped steadily in the fractional fighting among brigades of former rebels who first battled the strongman and then turned on each other. Islamic State profited from the security vacuum. The Misrata forces leading the Sirte campaign back a UN-supported government in Tripoli that is trying to bring the rival factions together. But the Sirte campaign has also prompted moves by Eastern Commander Khalifa Haftar, who rejects the Tripoli government to extend his influence.
Around 40 African countries have adopted a binding charter to strengthen their cooperation and cohesion in sharing information to boost maritime security. The historic document was signed in Lomé, Togo's capital, where African leaders gathered for an African Union Extraordinary Summit on Maritime Security on the continent. The agreement calls on all member countries to protect their environment, suppress and prevent crimes at sea, as well as the trafficking of human beings, weapons and drugs. With 90% of transport by sea and 99% of internet connection going through the sea, the issue of maritime security is now more critical than ever. Although acts of piracy have almost disappeared in Africa's Gulf of Aden, the situation in the Gulf of Guinea remains precarious with pirate attacks, hostage-taking as well as illegal fishing, which leads to a loss of revenue for regional countries of around $1.5 billion worth of fish each year.